Colin, my topic was potpourri. What's yours?
All right.
He's breaking out the tablet.
So this one's a little nerdy, but it's exciting to
on
me.
This show?
And I want you to. Well, it's nerdy in my way, and I want you guys to just
Nerdier than planets.
Okay, bearing with you.
Nerdier than taxes.
So I know a lot about history, right? I know a lot about politics, especially
Right.
American history and American politics. And there's something that happened today that I didn't know was possible. And I want to tell you guys what happened.
Thank you.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about what you would do in this situation.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent.
So, do you know how you can amend the Constitution by, the Senate and the Congress pass something, right? 2/3 majority, and then they send it to the states, and then the 3/4 of the states legislatures approve it, then the amendment passes, right, to the
Sounds
Constitution.
good.
Right.
We'll go
This
with
is the way it's typically done.
Right.
But there's another way that you can amend the Constitution, and it's totally legal. And I never heard about this before.
Really?
Yeah. And I took classes on some pretty granular bullshit. So I want to just see if you guys find this interesting, and then ask you guys a quick question about it.
Go for it.
And then we'll
Shoot
move on.
it.
At issue is what's known as the Constitutional Convention, a scenario tucked into Article 5 of the U.S. Constitution. At its core, Article 5 provides two ways for amendments to be proposed. The first, which has been used for all 27 amendments to date, requires 2/3 of both the House and the Senate to approve a resolution before sending it to the states for ratification. The Founding Fathers, though, devised an alternative way which states if 2/3 of state legislatures demand a meeting, Congress shall call a convention for proposing amendments. So I didn't know that this was possible. I don't know how the fuck I missed this.
This is kind of a big deal.
The idea was gained popularity among constitutional scholars in recent years, but it got a big boost last week when Michigan lawmakers endorsed it. Michigan matters because by some counts was the 34th state to do so. That makes 2/3. So what they're basically saying is that over the last few years, over the budget and other things, state legislatures have passed laws or bills saying that they want a constitutional convention, which we have not had since 1787, in which all the states would get together to ratify new amendments. And I found this, first of all, fascinating because this is not the way it was ever done. And I had no idea this was possible. Mm-hmm. But also because I wanted to ask you guys a quick question about if whether it was by the normal way or by this kind of fascinating old school, very 18th century way, what amendment would you pass for the Constitution?
It's episode 18, and you finally got a good one. This topic. This is a good topic here, Moriarty.
Greg?
I gotta think now.
You gotta think now.
I immediately jump to clarifying marriage. Gays can get married. We're done with this. This is stupid. We're out of this. We're out of this ballpark.
The final nail in that coffin.
Exactly. It's already happening. All the dominoes are falling. You know what I mean? But just speed it up. Be done with it. Take a stand as a country. Be like, boom, done. Gays can get married. You're not horrible people. Thank you. That would be a good one. Mm-hmm. I don't want to just take them all. I'll sit here.
Let's keep going.
Yeah.
What else you got?
I would say, the whole separation of church and state.
Tim and I are desperately trying to think of one right now, and we can't.
Separation of church and state. I want to rip one nation under God. I want to rip that out of the Pledge of Allegiance. I want to separate church and state. I know Colin, we've talked about this before on conversations with Colin, other things. Just when we sit around like we do in our heart-shaped bed smoking cigars. I know, don't get me wrong, I know for a fact that...
That's your bed rotating.
Yes, thank you. The church and state isn't the literal thing that I'm taking it to be, but I know most America does. And nobody has the balls in politics to stand up and clarify what this is. I'm going to do this in the thing. I'm going to get 10 commandments out of courtrooms. I'm going to get all this, under God. I want in God we trust off the money. I don't want to even have to worry about this. This needs to be a clear statement from the government that, nope, we were founded by a bunch of people trying to escape religious persecution. We're not going to be a part of it here. We want to get rid of this, make it black and white. You know what I mean? That this is not how we roll. That's another one. So you got the gay marriage done. Get the marriage out of there.
I'm down with this so far.
Yeah.
I'm in it.
Yeah, I'd vote for you.
I'd want to settle the gun stuff, but I don't have anything there. You should still keep your guns, but there needs to be limits on what the hell... We've talked about this again, too. You know what I mean? I don't know if you need these goddamn machine guns and rocket launchers. We'll figure that out. But
as far as I know, I don't know if you can walk into a Big Five and buy a rocket launcher.
Yeah,
Colin, can I get a ruling on that?
You can buy a rocket launcher, but a lot of these weapons are technically not legal. You can buy a lot of things at gun shows.
Rocket launcher.
I want an RPG.
You're at the gun show right now.
Oh, man.
See what I did there? My muscles.
Did you load those guns before you came in here?
Yeah.
Are they dangerous?
Yeah.
Beautiful. I would probably... I don't know what I'd do exactly, but I feel like I would want to do something around lobbyists or campaign contributions.
That's a great one.
Because I'm not quite sure how to phrase it, but I feel like that is the number one reason why it's legalized corruption in my opinion. I feel like the fact that if I were a billionaire, I could legitimately buy my own politician and put him in the presidency because I have enough money to do it. Now, granted, there's a lot more that goes into it, but I feel like our politicians can't make their own decisions because they're so beholden to the people that put them in that office. And then once they get there, they're like, well, I can't really do anything because I got to make sure I get reelected. And then you have this sort of round robin of people who are basically only looking out for their chair, and that's it. And so I feel like I don't know exactly how I would phrase that, but I would like to see an amendment that goes in our Constitution that basically just maybe evens the playing field for, the amount of money one can spend on their campaign. And that would also potentially get people to be a little more creative about how they go about being elected, like,
YouTube videos.
Well, there's that a lot of people do that now, actually.
Hiring P. Diddy, trying to get him involved.
I love P. Diddy. If I were running for president, I'd go P. Diddy, and then if he said no, I'd go Kanye.
Well, he'd threaten you if you didn't vote.
Rock the vote.
Vote or die.
Vote or
Vote or
die. That's
die.
what it was. MTV was Rock the Vote. P. Diddy really did it, man. He went out for it.
Yep.
Colin, does that make sense? I got to pass that 3-1 on that one. Does that make any sense, or am I just completely off base on that?
No, it makes sense. I mean, it's tough. The Supreme Court just ruled on this today.
Did they?
What'd they say?
5-4 Republicans all voted to. There was basically like there's already a limit on how much you can contribute, but they were saying like the individual max and about like contributions to presidential and congressional campaigns is overturned. So like you can give more money now.
Oh, great.
Now that's what it was. Somebody tweeted on my feed today that they were disappointed in the Supreme Court, and I didn't understand
I don't
because
know.
there was no links.
This is a tough one for me because money does ruin politics, but money's always been part of politics. Not to this extent, of course. But everyone that ran for president back in the day was rich. You weren't having like middle class didn't exist, but you weren't having like middle class, people. George Washington was landed gentry. John Adams was a rich Boston lawyer. Jefferson, Madison, and Monroe were all Virginia planters. Like these are all very rich men. The first 5 presidents.
Same things here, with the exception of I think Clinton started off as not rich, right? I think he was.
No, but he became. They made their. I don't want to say nouveau riche, but they made some. Yeah, cash. They made money.
But he made cash before he was president, right?
Yes.
Was there ever? A president, like, what about, like, Floyd Thompson? Was he, like, a
President Floyd Thompson?
Did he pull himself up by his boots?
So this is a funny story about President Floyd Thompson, is that President Floyd Thompson doesn't exist, of course. And Greg and I were talking, today was it yesterday?
It was yesterday when we were on the way to you missed this amazing lunch, by the way.
Where'd you guys go?
What is it called?
21st?
None of us
No,
know.
La Graje.
La Graje.
Have you been to this place?
No.
It's down by
Carne
like
asada fries, bro.
Oh,
Yeah.
bro.
I got a fried
Broseph.
crab sandwich.
Brosens.
So the President Thompson isn't a real person, but I was telling Greg that
22nd president.
we could say that his name and that he was a real president and never say anything about it, just mention him in passing, and 90% of the people in the world, in the United States, have no idea that's not even a real man. Just like everyone thinks Benjamin Franklin was a president.
No, I would not have believed
Honestly,
that.
if you're like, if Colin was talking,
The 22nd
and he
president.
was just like,
Floyd
oh yeah,
Thompson.
and so like President Thompson, blah 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 blah, Floyd, whatever, would you really question it?
I would have questioned it, yeah. I would have been like, that's not a president.
Don't believe that.
So many
You
people
can-
think Ben Franklin was a president, and it's like, so,
I thought
he's
Ben
a real
Franklin was
man.
a president.
No, he wasn't. A
No.
president.
What the fuck did he do? Lightning stuff?
Jefferson.
Yeah.
Jefferson was a president.
Jefferson was
I
president.
thought he was a president.
Two men.
I'm
A lot of, that's because I get Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson confused all the time as far as what they did. I know kind of some of the specifics, but
Yeah, they're very
it's hard. You remember that,
So why is he on the money?
Because he was a brilliant man.
Because he was a brilliant inventor.
He
There are
invented
two
lightning.
men that are on money that were not president. Do you know who they are?
Franklin
No.
Franklin and who else?
and
Roosevelt.
Floyd Thompson.
Floyd Thompson, yes.
Floyd Thompson.
Yeah.
No, think about it.
FT.
Who's on money? That's
on
not
the
a
5.
president.
No, Lincoln's on the 5.
Washington, Lincoln.
John
I don't know who
Adams?
the hell's
No.
on a 10.
Who's on
Who's on the 10?
Hamilton.
That's made up name.
Aaron
so
Burr.
Hamilton.
Aaron Burr. Also, Hamilton's the other one. You know why Hamilton couldn't be president? Because he wasn't born in the United States.
Really?
Yeah, he was born in the Caribbean, so he wasn't even eligible to be president.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
He was the first Secretary of the Treasury, though.
That's why we gave him the least interesting dollar amount.
The 10?
Who gives a crap?
The
about
10's
the
the
10?
least.
ten's where
The
it starts getting
$2
interesting.
bill is the least interesting
That's
dollar.
a very interesting one.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
And
It's interesting because it's out of circulation. Nobody wants it.
The 10 is where
interesting.
things start getting real.
yeah,
Nah.
The 10 and the
20's
20 is
real.
when you're like, I
20's
got to
real.
think about this.
ATMs have changed the way
The
we think of
50
paper money.
is just baller. And then
No,
if you
50 might be the weirdest.
50
I'm
is
gonna
the
give
weirdest
50.
because 50 is like, if you're going to go 50, go 100.
Yeah,
What-
exactly.
what's
And
the
if you're
deal?
going to go 10, go 20.
No, I like 10 because 10 people can make change for. A lot of people can't make change for 20s. You walk in a lot of places like, don't accept $20 bills.
What?
They'll do that stuff
That's
sometimes.
bullshit.
Weird places.
No, you see,
20s
they
are the
don't have change
standard.
above $20 bills.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm reading that sign.
I think you're
wrong.
reading
I don't
it wrong.
actually
Yeah.
like to read.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Colin.
Yeah.
This will be a fun game.
Okay. Floyd Thompson.
Can you name, fake or not, name one other president that's obscure, and we'll have to figure out if you're fake. If it's fake or
fake
not.
or not? I was like, what?
No. Yeah, that's
Now
the
I'm
game.
caught up. Now I'm
That'll be
caught
the
up.
game.
Now I'm caught up. Now I'm caught up.
So you want me to say one name?
Just so
He wants you to. Yes,
you know,
you're-
I assume you know every single president we've
Yeah.
had.
You know all
I assume
52.
you know.
All 52 of them. Yep.
What are we on the 45th, 44th?
It depends on how you count. It's the 40. It's because
I know exactly.
there was a non-consecutive president. He's technically counted twice.
Which one was that?
It's Chester Arthur was in the middle. It's was it Garfield? No, Garfield was dead.
Hold on. Chester Arthur?
Chester Arthur's or yeah.
That's a president.
Yeah.
That we have.
Oh, this is
Yeah.
gonna be a fun game. Okay, stop right there.
Yeah.
That is not real.
Start right there. Name one more president, and we're gonna go around the table. And Greg,
Yeah, I'm listening.
me and Tim
I'm
are gonna
thinking.
tell
I'm
you if
getting
it's-
in the.
if
I'm
it's
getting in the
true or
moment.
false.
Getting in the moment.
Rutherford Hayes.
True. That was president.
It's a real name. I'm in. True.
I am. That is not a president.
It is. It is a president.
No.
Yeah.
We had like 5 presidents. Washington,
baby.
Lincoln, Clinton, Bush, and the guy we have now.
There's a couple Bushes.
Zachary Taylor.
True.
True.
No.
Yes.
What? What? That was the guy from Home Improvement.
That was Zachary Ty Bryant.
That's Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
There's more than one guy on Home Improvement.
No one cares about the
No,
older
that's
brother,
exactly-
except he was in Tokyo Drift, which is
I was
amazing.
gonna
Oh, yeah.
say, let's not fucking throw him under the bus here. He's in your favorite franchise of all time. What happened?
That was me blowing everyone's
Blowing
mind
your
with
own
that
mind?
reference. Yeah, I blew my own mind with that reference.
About time somebody blew you.
Albert Saint Germain.
I'm going false on that one.
False.
It's definitely false.
Saint Germain's amazing. Though.
That'd
It's a good one.
President Saint Germain.
One day, and maybe not on this show, but one day we do have to come up with the alter egos. You remember in Seinfeld, they always had the best alter egos.
Art Vandelay.
Art Van.
Art
Art
Vandelay.
Vandelay.
Kramer.
I'm your latex.
What was Kramer's?
Dr. Van Nostrand.
Yeah. we have to do we have to do an alternate universe show where we're all our aliases.
Evil selves.
We'll just go as our evil selves. Tim
Me
will
and,
wear all
me and
white.
Alfredo are Jim and Fernando.
Jim Fernando. Is that when you used to go, sneak up behind people when they were having sex in cars and you just honk your horn and
No,
tip
that
their
was
car
just
over
Tim.
You
hills?
just got Jim
Oh,
and
Will Tim.
Fernando.
This is Jim. That's my boy Fernando.
Whoa.
I like it.
I went there.
Tim, what amendments do you want to pass?
I want Amazon to go back to not taxing me. I don't know if that's an amendment, but I want to make it one.
You could work on taxes.
Yeah.
That'd be
You
part
could
of
do
it.
anything. You could
Taxes
change.
just in general really piss me
Some
off.
bullshit.
It's one of those things I just don't even want to listen about it. Like I just hate it. I don't want them to happen, and I know they do things, but
I know they do things.
they don't do things that make me happy.
I can't.
directly.
They
They-
voted for Mitt Romney.
They build your roads.
Well, is he gonna run again?
I'm okay without
no way.
roads.
He's
Now,
done?
once you lose, it's over, right? Like when you get that close.
Not really. I mean, it's not necessarily true, but in today's day and
Like
age,
it's-
Reagan lost in '76. I mean, not in the general. He lost in the primary.
Yeah. Saint Germain
once
really
you
though,
lose
he
it.
came back.
But
with,
that's okay.
against
Primary
Thompson.
losses you can take. I'm talking about when you get up to the title fight and your lead ballot.
Yeah.
You can be VP,
VP.
and lose. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the last time.
Then you
that
can get the
happened.
money in the bank match and then come back. the
Right.
next time. Yeah.
Side note.
WrestleMania.
Nixon.
Yeah, but okay. So I'm talking about in our time period. I think now things have changed.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, Nixon was the last one that lost, and then ran again.
You got an eyelash. I'm coming for it.
There it is. Make a wish. Blow it out.
So, just real quick,
Blue Ribbon
to go back to what Nick was saying about campaign contributions, this is the thing that really bothers me, lobbyists and stuff, because technically, I feel like principally there should be no limit on campaign contributions or lobbying, because it's kind of your right to do that, but it really does manipulate the system demonstrably. You can.
I just don't think it should be allowed at all.
It's just fucked up. I don't. But money's part of the system. It's a delicate balance. I will say that there's 2 amendments on the books that I would do away with. It was up to me. The 16th and 17th amendments.
Which
so
are for those of us at home that don't know which ones those are.
So,
I don't know them.
So the 16th amendment is that legalizes income tax. This is an amendment I
That's
would
gotta
absolutely go.
That's
get rid
gotta
of.
go.
We've talked about that before. The 17th amendment is an interesting one. The 17th amendment allows for people to vote for the Senate. So when the founders created the Senate, state legislators would choose the senators, and it wasn't until the 20th century that people were actually picking senators themselves. Yeah, and this was part of a whole democratizing government movement, which is fine. But we're not a democracy; we're a republic. And there's a major differences between democracies and a republic. We are not. Democracy is literal mob rule. we are a republic. We have representatives that go and vote for us. The states don't have any voice in the federal government anymore, which is why things are so disjointed, in my opinion. So like, the House and the Senate are redundant. It's just like the House is there for 2 years and the Senate's there for 6 years, but everyone's voting for them. So you just get the same kinds of people.
Right.
So the House of Representatives should be the representatives of the people, and the Senate should be the representatives of the states, like state interests. So think about it in the way of like if you're from Wyoming, always my favorite example. Like the congressman would probably Wyoming only has one congressman, and they would worry about like things that are probably within Cheyenne and bigger jurisdictions, whatever. Wyoming would be up to the state, like the Senate, to worry about like our farming interests and our cattle interests and our oil interests and all those kinds of things. Make sure like all that stuff straightened out. I think that's important, and I don't think people think about that very often. We don't need two of the same house. It doesn't make any sense.
Right.
And on that note, I would institute a new amendment that would give term limits to Congress and the Senate.
That's got to come. And you got these guys that are like 900 years old, right?
Yeah, they're
Strom Thurmond.
Like we talked about with the House, the House of Representatives was created by men in the 1780s who didn't understand the way things would work now. 2 years was a fucking long time when you had to write letters and literally stay in Washington or in Philadelphia at the beginning and then go home and then come back. Like now we have this connected world where you're constantly running 24-hour news cycle. It's totally different. So like I've said before, like I would have the House of Representatives one term for 5 years, and everyone comes in at the same time and everyone leaves at the same time. And the Senate would be one term 10 years, and everyone would go in and come out.
Why not 10 and 10?
Because you want to have like the Senate again would be chosen by the states and would ideally have longer term plans in terms of like what they need to get done and all those kinds of things, and be given time over possibly, depending on how it works out, 3 different presidents. Up maybe, or maybe just 2.
Right.
To like work those things out. And the House is supposed to be about for the people, and so people might want to have turnover more quickly. Mm-hmm. But since we don't take advantage of, we never throw incumbents out anyway, and everyone's always like, well, every 2 years we can change everything up. Well, that never happens. So just let them stay longer and then kick them out permanently. Mm-hmm. And I would also say that if you were in the House, you can't be in the Senate. If you were in the Senate, you cannot run for the House. Get everyone out and then start again.
So you can't go from congressman to senator to back to congressman.
Well, you can't go from like House to Senate or Senate to House.
Right.
And, people, John Quincy Adams is a good example. He was president and then he went to the House afterwards for 20 years, which is fucking weird.
Yeah. Why so not? But can the president now be a senator if he wanted to again?
Yeah.
He or she?
Yeah. Well, there's like all sorts of different things. Like
you wouldn't.
No, presidents go back to the Congress, or presidents become Supreme Court justices, or like all sorts of things. That's fine, but like it's a little incestual. I've been thinking a lot about this because
you're gonna run.
No, because we're gonna have a Bush-Clinton race probably again in 2016, and it's just like we shouldn't have dynasties.
Who's running, Jeb?
Yeah,
really?
It looks like Jeb Bush is gonna be the man. Yeah, a lot of stuff to talk the last couple of weeks about, like the big money people in the Republican Party are trying to goad him into the race because Chris Christie fucked everything up.
By the way, side note, I watched. So you can tell that everyone's starting to gear up the political like advertising machine.
Oh, for the midterms?
Yeah. So there's a fascinating documentary about Jerry Ferraro?
Guy Ferretti?
No, Geraldine Ferraro.
Oh, Geraldine Ferraro, the congresswoman.
Yeah, the congresswoman who ran for vice president.
Yeah, with Mondale.
And it's all a big sort of... the whole documentary... So I started watching it because it was on. I was at my parents' house, and they like to watch stuff like that. So I'm like... When I'm at my parents' house, I'm like old. I'm like an old man when I go there. So like I sit down and I'm kind of colder than I usually am. Then I just eat a lot, and then I go to bed at like 7.
You're like, I'm not interested in this show. I'm going to go Shadowbox.
So, I mean, that's where I started. It doesn't matter. We'll go into that later. But no, so I started watching this really cool documentary about the woman, and of course Hillary Clinton was like featured prominently in it because she was a supporter of her first campaign run. But it's interesting because there's like after that there was like 3 or 4 more documentaries, and a lot of them were a lot of the media is very heavily skewed, and you're starting to see that sort of like passive sort of support for each one of these candidates. And you're like, I wonder how long ago that documentary was made. And if it was all sort of planned to paint Hillary Clinton in a much better light now than she was, 4 years ago.
Oh man, it's so obvious that she's going to be the one. I mean, I don't know if she wins or not. She wins the primary if there's any one that runs against her is stupid enough to even bother. There's so much voter remorse over Obama that like people go back to 2008 and are like, we could have had Clinton then because Clinton would have wiped the floor with McCain too. So like, I think a lot of people are interested in her.
You
now.
think she's knocked down? She's going to get it? I don't think anyone's really. You're
right. I think she's like a shoo-in in the Democratic part. Now the Republican primary is going to be interesting because you're going to have there's going to be 4 or 5 pretty big players that could all win.
But you really think we're going to put another Bush back in the office?
Jeb Bush is an incredibly smart person, and I was talking to Greg and Tim about it yesterday. Like, I feel like, there's something called the Schlesinger poll that historians do every 2 years. Actually, they vote more than that and they rank the presidents. Like, scholars rank the presidents.
I'm sorry. Tim, do you want to say it?
The Streisand effect.
Yeah, the Streisand effect.
All right. He had the look on his face. Isn't he puppet?
And Schlesinger is like a famous Harvard historian, like one of the most famous American historians probably since Henry Adams. And old man, I think he might be even dead now. And so they vote, and I feel like Bush is near the bottom. I feel like history's gonna be kinder to Bush, just like history was actually kinder to Bush 1.
And I was saying he won't crack 30 in this ranking.
Maybe not. I don't know.
You were saying you think he's gonna get to the teens?
No, yeah, I think he can be in like the late teens, early 20s. But I feel like people were quick to hate on Bush, which is fine. I think he made a lot of mistakes. He did go to Yale. He's not a fucking stupid man, which a lot of people forget about. But he
did a lot of coke in Yale.
Yeah, he did a lot of coke in Yale.
BTW.
So did Obama. Did a lot of coke too. So
did Obama do coke?
Yeah, for sure. He admits that all the time. Like, he always says, like, I made mistakes, and I appreciate that. He's a normal person. But I feel like there's remorse that like we were so quick to throw Bush out and like throw him under the bus and be like totally mean to him. Meanwhile, Jeb Bush was always the one who was assumed that was going to run for president in the 90s when he was coming up and governor of Florida. So like but he's very reluctant. Like, I don't think he really wants to run. But I think the big power players, if it's not him, Chris Christie will still run. I think everything got fucked up with him, which sucks.
The bridge.
I think Rand Paul is going to be a really significant factor, and I think that Rand Paul could very easily win the nomination. Now, if it's like Rand Paul and Hillary Clinton, those are two very different people, and at least you're going to have a choice. Rand Paul is like a straight up libertarian, so
yeah, but that's the thing. That's the thing is because I don't know, just because his dad tried multiple times.
Yeah, twice.
And
3 times technically.
So polarizing that it was like, dude, you're not gonna get the vote. Like,
but
he's a pretty radical guy. The Paul family's pretty radical.
I loved Ron Paul because he brought libertarianism to the forefront. Now it's never gone away, and like libertarianism is the new Republican Party. That is going to be the Republican Party.
He is a very fascinating human being.
He's awesome.
He's
a big, he's a very consistent person of liberty, dude. I don't always agree with him, actually. I disagree with him on a lot, but I love his consistency in what he says. It gets him in trouble.
I was going to say that's part of the reason why I was like, this guy will never be president, because he's too honest. He has kind of radical views as far as our current party system goes, and he would just say stuff, and you're like, well,
that's what we want now. That's what we need.
That's what everyone needs.
Straight shooter.
But no one they always say, well, America wants straight shooter, but then we end up voting for the people that are like if we put another Bush in office and we're just a glutton for punishment, let's get right back into Iraq. Let's get right back into war. Let's get right back into Afghanistan. And why the hell not?
You think that's a Bush thing?
It's definitely a Bush thing.
No, I think
Bush got us into him.
I agree.
I don't think we should say that to Jeb though. Well, you're a Bush. When are we going back to Iraq? And he's like, right away. He gets inaugurated and just turns around and does and all these jets take off.
I disagree that I don't think history will remember George W. I mean, maybe because of the way he responded after 9/11, but I mean, Jesus, the man used it. The man used the biggest American tragedy in our history to fund basically his own private wars, and it was just deplorable, man. We're still fighting those wars.
But I wonder. That's true. But I wonder. I think it's about whether we want to talk about fairness or not in terms of the way Bush is portrayed. And what I mean by that is, 2001 was 9/11 was a really difficult time for any president in terms of war, probably since Vietnam, and I wonder, JFK and LBJ. JFK started the Vietnam War, right? And LBJ perpetrated the Vietnam War, and Nixon was the one who stopped it. Nixon was the one who was like, enough, and he's the one who stopped the Republican. The Democrats are the ones that started that war. Mm-hmm. But we don't often talk about Vietnam as being a Democratic boondoggle, even though it fucking was a Democratic boondoggle, because we choose to look at our history in a different way because of a liberal-leaning scholarship in the United States and a liberal-leaning media. And that's fine, for better or for worse. But we can look at it the same way with the Republicans, especially in 2006 when the Democrats took the House and the Senate. And they could have ended it if they wanted to, and they didn't. So and a lot of those people, like Hillary Clinton, voted for the war when they were in the Senate. So it's about, it's just about honesty. Biden's the same fucking way. Biden was a hawk.
Smiling Joe Biden?
Smiling Joe Biden, Uncle Joe.
That guy, he's a little creepy.
I love Joe Biden.
He's very, man. I talk to Greg about it every once in a while, where when Romney was running against Obama and Romney destroyed Obama in that first debate, and I was like, oh my god, like this is awesome. I couldn't believe it. Like there was total meltdown on the internet and on like all the talk shows because Romney just obliterated Obama. Like Obama had no idea what he was walking into because everyone made Romney look like a cartoon character for 6 months because the liberal media does that, and then everyone finally got their first real like unfiltered look at him, and everyone's like, holy shit, he's not a Muppet.
I liked Romney, and I liked it because at the time, we were owned by Fox then, right? And so watching people run your company and then listening to this guy who's like, this is what I do. I go in and I dig companies out of debt and I make them profitable, and I want to do that for our economy, and I want to do that for the United States. Not that everything, necessarily should be driven by money like we were talking about earlier, but should be. Dude, I mean, I would hate to be negotiating with him on any subject. On any deal at all. The guy is just insanely smart.
He's self-made too. Like his dad was rich. He was the governor of Michigan, but he left Mitt Romney with nothing. Mitt Romney actually came up and like made his own money, which I really respect. But what I was getting at was that when Joe Biden then after that debated Paul Ryan is like a brilliant dude. Paul Ryan's like a policy wonk, like really smart
and ripped.
Yeah, he's ripped.
Cut like a motherfucker.
Yeah, he is. He's like so like
you saw those? Didn't you ever see those?
No, I never saw those.
Yeah, he's like, what do they call P90X or whatever?
Yeah, he did P90X.
Yeah, that was like his thing. Anyway, Paul Ryan's like a real smart suburban Wisconsin congressman, policy wonk, numbers dude, like really, really, really smart. And I remember going to Greg and being like, he is going to fucking rip Biden apart. It is like going to be, I remember going to being like, it's going to be an embarrassment for Biden. And Biden held, like it was, in my opinion, a tie.
Really?
And Biden was probably even a little bit better than Ryan. And I was like, wow. And that showed me like Biden's a survivor, man. Like Biden is a fucking politician.
How long has he been in politics for?
Like 40 years.
Yeah.
But Biden like has that blue collar charm. Like you want to like him, like all these kinds of things. So he's kind of a dark horse, I think, to run for president in 2016.
Yeah,
but I don't think he's going to run. I
think he's too old though.
He just bided his time.
He's
is that where you went with it?
No, there was a huge piece in Politico a few weeks ago about how like all these people talking like off the record about how he's going to run.
Guns on this kid.
That dude's yacked. Good for him, man. If I were in the public eye at all, like if there was like a show that we did every week that required me to be on camera, I would look exactly like that. I would be just so yoked.
Today we're driving home, and a guy crosses the crosswalk, and Tim goes, I could be that guy, Greg. And there was two guys in the crosswalk. One, a good-looking dude in a shirt and some sunglasses, and then another guy in a backpack eating a candy bar. And I'm like, which one? He's like, the guy in the gray. And I'm like, you already look like that. But he's like, no, if I worked out a little bit, dude, that's what I would look like.
He was like super ripped. I thought you were going to go with how quick our order was today.
Oh, I don't even want. You want to get started on that? You want to talk about the difference with Nick Scarpino not rolling with us? Call underdogs. I'm like, yeah, we need these burritos. All right, bye, done. No manager involvement to get you a side of lettuce and 3 sides of carne asada.
I'm just saying right now, then if you don't work for it, it's not worth it.
It doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Tim, your best friend in life, your man life mate, works out every day. He would get you so yacked out of your mind if you just went with him like twice a week.
I know.
So go. It's fun.
Yeah.
It releases endorphins. It makes you happier.
Yeah.
Then you look at yourself. You start taking those selfies, but your selfies go from selfies to what do they call them?
Swelfies.
Swelfies.
Yeah.
This is a thing?
That's a thing.
It's when you take selfies and you're super swole.
Oh, Jesus.
Swole's a thing that I learned from Alfredo.
Swole is a big thing.
Thanks, Alfredo.
You swole up.
Yeah.
All right.
Good talk, everyone.
Good amendments. I like that one, Colin. That was a really good one.
I'm more fascinated by the fact that you can pass amendments, but I just like the idea, by the way, I love our system. No one really thinks about how beautiful the system is. Like, we have a federal government that's way too powerful, more powerful than it was supposed to be. But, like, 50 governments that basically do whatever they want under, like, this system. And then, like, they can all just get together like they did in the revolution and just be like, hey, we want to meet and talk about things.
It's a cool idea.
Yeah, I like that, you know? And I like the idea of, like, if you don't like the taxes in one state, you go to the next state. If you don't like the gay marriage laws in one state, just go to the state where gay marriage is legal. You want an abortion, you can't have it in your state, well, go to the state. You know, it's like all these different permutations of things. You want marijuana legalization, go to Colorado or Washington.
That might be a good one too, so I can stop seeing those legalize it stickers. They're annoying. Legalize it, bro.
Well, we voted in 2010 and fucked that one up. So that was a bad year. See, 2010 was a Republican year. conservatives are typically against the legalization of marijuana. And so that was voted down in the midterms. And again, we're voting again in 2014 for that. And I'm like, why don't you just wait until a presidential year when Democrats vote, and then you will pass it? It's going to get voted down again.
Yeah.
Not enough people will be at the ballots.
There's a lot of there's a lot of
munchies.
There's a lot of Republicans in California. People don't appreciate how many Republicans are in the state.
We got Orange County. That messed it up for all of us.
In the middle of the country. And Sacramento.